because I live, of course, with, everyone knows him as the governor. I know him as Jared, and then our two kids. It was shocking, actually, to see the amount of waste that was happening, what we were generating and putting into the trash before we actively started learning how to divert it correctly. And so what I found, there were a couple of things. Everyone these days suffers almost from information overload. And so my strategy was to, as I said, work on one habit, developing one good habit each week, even if that meant, learning what you do with the cap on a container. If it's a glass jar, if it's a plastic, I'm spacing the the term right now, but if it's plastic, depending on whether the cap is metal. And so what I did was I took all of the tips that EcoCycle so kindly sent me, that Randy worked on, and I put them into a graphic, an informational graphic that I shared online. And everyone said, oh, it's great, you put all this information out, but do you do it? And I said, as a matter of fact, I do. I print out, I only print it out once, I should say. I print out each tip, and so the side of my laundry room, which is where we keep our recycling, has pieces of paper with all of the tips from an entire year. And I also put it into a little booklet that I also put on Facebook, and that's been very useful, sort of as a visual cue. And then for anyone else that was just asking a question, I recommended some of these great apps. I use EcoCycle's app because I live in Boulder County, in the city of Boulder. So that's the one I use, but I frequently shared Recycle Colorado and continue to share Recycle Colorado's resources.
Oh, thank you so much. And I have a parallel experience with you in that we recycle in our utility room as well. And there's a big poster up there, what you can and what you cannot. And I hope that my husband looks at that before he puts it in there. So
yes. Sometimes you don't have to be a stickler all the time, but it is funny. It worked with my kids. I instilled the interest early on, and so now, every time we sit down to a meal or we've had a celebration and we have all this extra wrapping paper and boxes and little pieces of twine, I said, just, think about, what you're going to do. Are you going to keep the wrapping paper and reuse it? Can we use newspaper instead of wrapping paper to wrap these things? So, and I should say, I know the governor is going to be speaking tomorrow. That'll be a treat. You guys can see, he really knows his stuff after a year of studying those tips.